The U.S. Supreme Court's conservative majority upholds state voting restrictions on a landmark voting rights law. Today, the court's 6-3 ruling upheld voting limits in Arizona that a lower court found discriminated voter rights under the Federal Voting Rights Act. The high court's ruling will likely help Republican-led states impose those restrictive new voting laws. NewsNation Washington correspondent Allison Harris is here to break this down for us. Allison, Republican-led states are now saying this will help prevent voter fraud?
Yeah, well, Adrian, the president says that he is deeply disappointed by today's decision that, as he says, undercuts the Voting Rights Act. There's been a movement since the election of Republicans passing legislation to restrict the right to vote or maintain voter integrity, as Republicans say. This ruling today essentially supports that. The Supreme Court upholds voting restrictions in Arizona, only allowing absentee ballots to be delivered by a family member, mail carrier, or elections official, and throwing out any ballots cast in the wrong precinct. The president says he's not done fighting for voting rights, not commenting on the specific ruling today, but the larger concern of voter access.
The ability of a state legislative body to come along and vote, their legislature vote, to change who is declared the winner, I find to be somewhat astounding.
It's a decision that will make it harder for Democrats to challenge efforts by Republican-led states to restrict access to voting, in part a reaction to gains made by Democrats in states like Georgia and Arizona. An analysis by the Brennan Center shows more than 350 voter restriction bills have been introduced nationwide. This 6-3 ruling followed ideological lines. For the conservative majority, Justice Samuel Alito wrote that mere inconvenience for voters trying to cast a ballot does not mean that access to voting is unequal. And for the liberal dissent, Justice Elena Kagan wrote that the majority is weakening a statute designed to bring about the end of discrimination in voting. While Arizona Governor Doug Ducey tweeted, "This is a big victory for Arizona voters." The Navajo Nation filed an amicus brief concluding how this ruling would disparately impact Native Americans' ability to exercise their right to vote, with 1/3 of the nation living in rural poverty. Georgia is one of the states that has also passed voting restrictions. The Justice Department is now suing the state to stop what it calls racially discriminatory provisions. The Attorney General has made it very clear that he wants to use every legal tool, as he says, to protect all qualified Americans in their right to vote. And Adrian, just today, President Biden, as he was in Florida, teased that he's ready to go on tour for this issue.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens next. Thank you so much, Allison.